Okay. Oh my god. We've got a real big boy slate tonight. Yeah, we'll go over the Rubio situation. You know, that is the first game we're talking about. It doesn't really concern me all that much, just to be honest. You know, I still think that they run probably an 8-man rotation. And Rubio's still going to play 30-plus minutes, which is all we can really ask for. Also, you know, more of his minutes are going to be staggered with Darius Garland, which is a positive thing where he's going to be the #1 ball handler out there. So definitely fine with that. What's going on, Matt? You are first in here for sure. What's going on, Matt? Sergi, Gary, Nick, Hondor, Sam. Hondor, I don't think Prize Picks is available in Europe just yet. Do you love Barton? I do love Barton. I think you should be playing 3 or 4 of these Denver Nuggets tonight. T question, more edge focusing on turbo slates or playing main slates when there's so many games. Yeah, I mean, I think that I've experimented with like turbo slates and such like stuff like that. I think it's more the people that play those slates are the guys that are just like tilt entering like after they took an L. And so I don't think that they're researching as much. So I think the competition is definitely a lot softer in those. Rubio back to scraps off the bench? Nah, because I think Rubio was a fine play before, and I don't think Isaac Okoro plays as much as Colin Sexton was going to. So I still think that he's in a very good spot. Now, he's not Rubio, so it is a small downgrade to Rubio. But if that's going to scare people off of him and lower his ownership, you know, I'm fine with playing him at much lower ownership. Coming off the bench, Karis LeVert is out. That is correct. So I think Malcolm Brogdon, you know, coming back from an illness is in a very, very good spot. You know, everybody is going to be playing 3 or 4 Nuggets, or at least you should be. And so if you want to bring it back with a guy, assuming that game stays competitive, Malcolm Brogdon is probably the guy right there at $7,500 with no Karis LeVert. Still like Rubio, even with LeVert out. Yep. Or with him coming off the bench, I do. Morris for Denver, he playable. Yeah, Monte Morris is in an amazing spot. What's the background music you listening to? It's called... Here, I'll show you. This is what I play every day. If you guys want to listen to this, whatever. This is what I end up working with. It's like 37 minutes long. I wish it was a bit longer, but yeah. All right, guys. Let's go over this slate since we got some people in here. If you guys are in here, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you guys could hit that subscribe button, the like button, as well as hitting that bell notification button so you are notified whenever I drop a video and go live, would greatly appreciate that. But you know, we are waiting on a couple of pieces of news, but not news that is really going to change what I'm doing outside of what the starting lineup for the Denver Nuggets is. That game does start an hour after luck, so we're gonna have to wait for that news. But we will start with the Washington Wizards versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's supposed to be a close one. A 209 over-under. Wizards are 3-point favorites. The Wizards, they are going to be without Thomas Bryant, Rui Hachimura, Cassius Winston, Davis Bertans. Really not considering anybody on this Washington Wizards side. Gafford, I suppose, is an interesting tournament option, but you know, I will say this: Bradley Beal's $9,500. They priced up all of these studs on Draftkings, and Bradley Beal was not one of them, so his price remains pretty much the same. So I guess from a pure salary perspective, he's not the worst spend up option. But on the Cleveland Cavaliers side, I'm probably going to end up playing a couple of these guys. Jared Allen up top at $7,500 has been playing nearly 40 minutes a game since Kevin Love and Larry Markkinen have been out. The Washington Wizards are by far the worst front court defense in the entire NBA. He has scored 56, 56, 39, and 49 fantasy points in the last 4 games. Without those guys, the minutes are going to continue to be there for him. And whether it's Darius Garland or Ricky Rubio, since Rubio is coming off the bench, you know, they're going to pick and roll this team to death. I love Jared Allen today. One of my favorite spin-up options on the slate, if you consider $7,500 a spin-up option. Love him, love him, love him. And then Evan Mobley, $7,000. You know, he's going to play big minutes just like Jared Allen. Not as good of a per minute producer, but still, I mean, he's played 40 minutes recently. He played 40, 38, 36 minutes. Could get back up to playing 40 plus minutes in this game. And he is only $7,000. I like Evan Mobley a ton as well. And then we just got word that Ricky Rubio is going to be coming off of the bench for Isaac Okoro. Isaac Okoro has missed the last several games. This is his first game back, going to be immediately into the starting lineup. Now, I still like Ricky Rubio a ton today. Him coming off the bench doesn't really affect all that much. I guess it hurts his minutes just slightly. I still think that he plays 30 plus minutes here. But that's less minutes of him playing next to Garland. I still think that the closing lineup ends up being Ricky Rubio and Darius Garland out there. We have seen at times recently that they will run Rubio, Sexton, and Garland out there. So I think without Sexton, that Rubio is definitely going to get enough minutes to pay off this price tag. And, you know, a per minute production bump when his minutes are staggered with Garland. So I still think that he's still a great play, and the fact that he's coming off the bench is going to scare a lot of people off of him, and that's only going to lower his ownership. So I'm going to continue to play Ricky Rubio. I think he's a great play on both sides. Isaac Okoro is $4,000, more of a secondary option there. On the Brooklyn Nets, they are going to be without Kyrie Irving, Nicholas Claxton out for I believe another week. So they have tightened up the rotation a bit as of recent. So I think Aldridge, Griffin, Bruce Brown, you know, they're interesting secondary plays, but not really considering any of those guys. Kevin Durant would be my favorite option from this team, but there is some serious blowout risk nearing a 10-point spread right now. So I don't mind Durant. I think there is better spin-up options, but not really considering anybody on this Brooklyn team. And then on Orlando, I'm not really considering anybody either. I think Jalen Suggs is an interesting tournament option at $4,400. Leads his team with a 26.4% usage rating, but the minutes have been extremely volatile to begin the year. Move over to the Toronto Raptors versus the Boston Celtics at 206.5 over under. The Celtics are currently 2-point favorites. Pascal Siakam returned last game, played about 25 minutes. That sent Precious Achiuwa to the bench. So now that this team is pretty much at full strength, I'm not really considering anybody on this team because they are priced up as if Pascal Siakam isn't in the lineup, and that is just not the case any longer. The Celtics are going to be without Jaylen Brown and Broderick Thomas. So obviously without Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum gets a pretty considerable bump. Since the beginning of last year, he has a 34.3% usage rating, 11.5 total rebound percentage, 21.4 assist percentage, while averaging 1.35 fantasy points per minute without Jaylen Brown on the court. The volume has been there all year. He just has not been shooting very well. He finally had a big breakout game last time out where he ended up, that's Jaylen, where he ended up shooting 12 for 19, 6 for 8 from 3, scoring 57.25 fantasy points. I think this is a pretty solid matchup against Toronto. Toronto not playing very good defense as of recently, or at least at all this year. So I don't mind Jason Tatum at 10.4K without Jaylen Brown. Dennis Schroeder entered the starting lineup last game when Jaylen Brown was out, ended up playing 39 minutes with a 26% usage rating, which was second behind Jason Tatum. So I don't mind Dennis Schroeder, more of a secondary option because they're very, very good guard plays in the 6K range. That he's more of a secondary option, but I still think Dennis Schroeder is a very good play today. And we do just get confirmation that Schroeder is going to start next to Smart, Tatum, Horford, and Robert Williams. That's pretty much the extent of who I'm considering over on the Boston side. Move over to the Detroit Pistons versus the Houston Rockets at 210.5 over under. The Rockets are currently 3.5-point favorites. They have no injuries. Killian Hayes is returning today. That was just announced or confirmed rather recently. Cade Cunningham, really the only guy that I'm considering here. So far to begin the year, Cade has a 30.2% usage rating, 34.7 true shooting. So the the usage has been there. The ball is in his hands a ton. He's taking a ton of shots. He's turning the ball over a lot, but the opportunities are definitely there. Once the shot starts coming around at 5,200, I like him quite a bit. He's an interesting pivot to Ricky Rubio at the same exact price. obviously gets a pace-up spot against the Houston Rockets. Him versus Jalen Green. I mean, it could be a battle tonight between those two guys. So we could see Cade Cunningham definitely taking an uptick in shots, and he's already taking enough shots as it is. I think he's slightly better play over on FanDuel, where he can get that steal and block upside. But I like Cade Cunningham quite a bit today. Then on the Rockets side, they are going to be without John Wall. Kevin Porter Jr. was just announced as active and available to play today. And then Alperen Sengun is actually inactive now. So I do think that Daniel Theis probably sees somewhat of an increase in minutes. Not the most. I think what happens is that Christian Wood is going to slide down to the 5 for a lot of the to take up a lot of those backup 5 minutes behind Daniel Theis, since Sengun is out. So that's going to give more minutes to Daniel House, who is available today, as well as Jae'Sean Tate. They should all receive some additional minutes here. So in a competitive game, Jae'Sean Tate could play mid to high 30s minutes in this game. I don't mind him. But again, more of a secondary play. Once we get further into the slate, you'll see why these guys are secondary plays and why there are such good must plays today. And then Christian Wood, he is 9,200. So like I mentioned, he should play big minutes today regardless, but especially with Sengun out, he should have more productive minutes being closer to the basket when he is playing the backup 5. And if you do care about narratives, the Detroit Pistons ended up signing Mason Plumlee over Christian Wood. So pretty interesting choice on the Detroit Pistons front office. Move over to the Milwaukee Bucks versus the New York Knicks at 217 over under. The Knicks are currently 4-point favorites. Is that correct? I could be wrong in that. I might have wrote that down wrong. The Bucks are going to be without Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Dante DiVincenzo. Giannis Antetokounmpo is up to $12,300. Now, he is the best raw projected player on the slate. It's a great matchup against the Knicks, who are playing very, very poor defense to begin the year. But man, and there is a bunch of value. So if you did want to play Giannis, you could definitely do it. It's just, man, it's really hard to justify that price tag. He really needs to score like 70 plus fantasy points, which is definitely possible. But 12,300 is a pretty crazy price tag. Much rather get down to a guy maybe like Drew Holiday at 6,500. His minutes continue to scale up. I'm expecting anywhere from 32 to 34 minutes in this game from him. He's averaged 1.29 fantasy points per minute since the beginning of last year with no Chris Middleton on the court. And then Bobby Portis at $5,500 I think is a great play right here. 35 minutes last game. This is the second leg of a back-to-back, and Drew Holiday and Bobby Portis are both coming off of injury. So I think there is a possibility that the minutes do scale back a bit. So I'm not targeting them as heavily as I was before, because I think that the minutes, like I said, could be scaled back a bit more. And then George Hill at $3,700. Budenholzer has said that they like playing him big minutes for defensive reasons. So if he's going to continue to be in the starting lineup next to Drew Holiday while Chris Middleton is out, and play 32 minutes at $3,700, you can definitely do a lot worse. Move over to the New York Knicks side. Nerlens Noel is officially out. Mitchell Robinson is in. Like I said earlier in my video, I thought there was a good chance that Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel both ended up missing that game, and so Taj Gibson would be in play, but Noel was ruled out. Mitchell Robinson is in, and he is not on a minutes restriction, so not interested in Taj Gibson any longer. But man, we would have had a pretty good play with Taj, especially if you were using him as a pivot to the Denver guys, because he would likely see 30 plus minutes, but that is just not the case any longer. Then I think Julius Randle at 10,300 is not the worst play against Milwaukee. Again, they have upped the prices of all of these stars tonight. Julius Randle did get a small uptick in price, but not nearly as much as the rest of the Draftkings players. Move over to the Dallas Mavericks versus the Chicago Bulls at 215.5 over under. The Bulls are currently 3.5 point favorites. The Mavericks are going to be without Maxi Kleber. Kristaps Porzingis missed quite a bit of time last game due to foul trouble that he sustained in the first half, but he looked like he was on pace for 30 to 32 minutes. He's probably a tad bit too cheap at 6,800, but he is priced around Evan Mobley. I would prefer Mobley to him. Kristaps Porzingis more of a tournament option. Luka Doncic, I think, is definitely in play over on FanDuel, where he's only $10,000. But at $11,400, I'm not really getting to all that much of him over here on DraftKings. Again, just from a pure roster construction standpoint, I'm loving the players from like the 6.3K to 8.2K range over here on DraftKings. I think those are like the best point per dollar plays outside of the obvious value plays. So you can play the value plays and then stack the mid range, and you don't even have to get up to these overpriced, inflated stars tonight, at least over on DraftKings. On the Chicago side, Patrick Williams is still out. Obviously, he's out for the year. And then Kobe White is no longer on the injury report. He got assigned to the G League recently. So he's not going to be in this game just yet. And so, you know, this team is kind of at full strength. But I do think that Zach LaVine, who went from 8,600 to 7,600 in the span of one game, and, you know, he's been playing well. He's constantly scoring over 40 fantasy points. A 30.4% usage rating to start the year that leads the team, averaging 1.18 fantasy points per minute. I just don't really understand this price right here. It gets an awesome matchup against the Dallas Mavericks. Should be one of the higher scoring games on the slate. Don't really understand it. Love Zach LaVine at $7,600 over here on DraftKings. Again, I just don't understand that price tag at all. Move over to the Charlotte Hornets versus the Memphis Grizzlies at 229 over under. The Grizzlies are currently 4.5 point favorites. They are going to be without PJ Washington, so that secures the center minutes of Mason Plumlee. Now this game could definitely end up going small, but I still think that Plumlee plays around 30 minutes. Not too bad of a play for 5,000, but my favorite play on this team is going to be Terry Rozier at $6,300. I think that there is way too much of a price discrepancy between him and LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges. I think he should be in the 7Ks compared to these other guys' prices on the same team. So Terry Rozier on here, and then especially on FanDuel, where I believe he's $5,200 or $5,300. Yeah, he's $5,300. I mean, it's just a ridiculous price tag for him. He's going to play big minutes. Obviously, the injury that he was dealing with earlier isn't bothering him whatsoever. So I like Terry Rozier quite a bit tonight. One of my favorite guys. Like I said earlier, my favorite plays are from that 6.3 to 8.2K price range, and that includes Terry Rozier. Brandon Ingram is ruled out. Okay, so we might make some changes right here. Okay, let me get through this and then we'll talk about the Brandon Ingram situation, because that does actually change quite a bit, because some of my favorite plays on the slate, if Brandon Ingram were to be ruled out, we're going to be Devontae Graham, more of a tournament option, but then Jonas Valanciunas, I like a ton, especially in this matchup. And actually, let's go and get this live over here on... they already rose his price a little bit. I still like it, man. I still like the over. He should abuse this Oklahoma City team. So I know we're stopping mid game notes, but I do want to get this in on Prize Picks, because I think this is the best way to be profitable over here, is jumping on this news pretty much immediately. We can find a guy that we want to end up pairing him with. I do love Jonas Valanciunas now without Brandon Ingram. We saw Drew Eubanks in limited time just absolutely destroy this Thunder front court. Thad Young as well. Jonas Valanciunas is a much better player than Drew Eubanks. Believe it or not, we can find a guy that we want to pair this with. I don't mind the Drew Holiday over 32.5 right there, but I want to find a lock and load kind of play, just a 2 picks for you guys in this. Let's do Jared Allen right here. Okay. I him projected a lot more higher than this. Okay, so if you guys want to tell me, I'm taking the Jonas Valanciunas over 42.5 fantasy points, as well as the Jared Allen over 37 fantasy points. Feel pretty damn strong about this right here. Go ahead and play that. If you guys want to tail me on Prize Picks, you guys can use code Taylor, TAYLOR, for a 100% match bonus up to $100. And I post my plays for free all the time all over. So if you guys want to tail me over there, I would make sure to go and take advantage of that. Move over to the Memphis Grizzlies. So Dylan Brooks actually is questionable to play today. I don't know how active he is going to be, even if he does end up playing. If he is ruled out, I think Desmond Bane is entirely too cheap at $5,000. If Brooks ends up starting, I think that D'Anthony Melton likely gets bumped back to the bench. I think Bane's minutes are definitely secure. And then we got word from the head coach that they know how much better they are as a team with Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5 rather than Steven Adams at the 5. And that has been one of the reasons why Steven Adams' minutes have been tailing back recently. It's not just been the blowouts or the foul trouble. It's also because they've just actively wanted to play Jaren Jackson Jr. more at the 5. So that is an obvious bump to Jaren Jackson Jr. We just got word Dillon Brooks is a game time decision. So Jaren Jackson Jr., if he's going to continue to play 30 plus minutes, is going to be closer to the basket against an undersized Charlotte Hornets team. I mean, he is in a very good spot. Nobody's going to play him, and very underowned, very, very good tournament option today. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. quite a bit, and I just don't think anybody is going to play him. Dillon Brooks will come off the bench if he plays Wednesday. Okay, so that is good. I think Desmond Bane is definitely fine if you guys are playing him. We will move over to the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the New Orleans Pelicans, which we just got word on. At 209.5 over under. The Pelicans are currently 4-point favorites. Trey Mann is questionable to play today, but this game should be competitive, especially without Brandon Ingram. So I think these guys are more so in play. This game, the problem with the Thunder is that there's always a risk of blowout, but against the Pelicans, I just don't really think that's there, especially with no Brandon Ingram. So I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is definitely in play. Josh Giddey at 6,500, more of a secondary play. His price keeps creeping up. I think he's a great fantasy player, but his price is a bit too much right now. But Darius Bazley at $4,800 should play, 32 plus minutes in this game. I think he is definitely viable as well. But more of a tournament option, guys. Not really somebody I would ever consider in cash games or if I'm playing one lineup. On the New Orleans Pelicans side, Zion Williamson, Dalton Holmes are out. Brandon Ingram was also just ruled out, and then Herbert Jones is questionable. So without Brandon Ingram, I think Jonas Valanciunas is an A-tier play, and I mean, dude, he is in an elite spot right here. Elite spot. Nobody is going to play him. I love Jonas Valanciunas now. I think Devontae Graham is an interesting tournament option, but again, that 6K guard spot range is very, very stacked tonight. And then I think Josh Hart should play, mid to high 30s minutes, especially if Herbert Jones is out. He is the same price as Ricky Rubio. So if you guys want a pivot off of a very popular Ricky Rubio, you guys could go to a guy like Josh Hart. I know it's a different position, but same price point. Brandon Ingram being out definitely changes the landscape of the New Orleans Pelicans and my interest in them. Then we move on to the Sacramento Kings versus the San Antonio Spurs at 222 over under. The Spurs are currently 1-point favorites. So Tyrese Halliburton, Terrence Davis, it looks like they're heading to game time decisions. Tyrese Halliburton ended up missing last game. Buddy Hield ended up starting and places him. But we saw a lot of Terrence Davis. Terrence Davis played 25.5 minutes off the bench. Now, if he were to miss as well as Tyrese Halliburton, we're going to see big minutes from Buddy Hield and Davion Mitchell. But it is really pending that news. I don't think that we're going to get this information ahead of the slate. So they are going to be inherently lower owned just because if Halliburton and Davis are ruled out, that's probably going to come just well after lock. And so you're going to get guys like Mitchell and Harrison Barnes and De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield at very, very low ownership. I still think that Fox and Barnes are good plays regardless of if Halliburton and Davis play. Then on the Spurs side, Jakob Poeltl, Zach Collins are out. So is Keita Bates-Diop. He is also out. Drew Eubanks continues to start in place of Jakob Poeltl, playing about 22 minutes to Thad Young's 26 minutes, coming off the bench, playing the backup center role. But they've both been priced up to a point where I don't think you need to be playing these guys. Not really interested in the San Antonio Spurs. Although I do think that there is some upside in DeJounte Murray, even at $9,700. This matchup against the Sacramento Kings is about as good as it gets for a guy like Murray, considering how much the Kings end up turning up the ball over, how fast it is, a lot of rebounding opportunities for DeJounte Murray. Move on to one of the more popular games of the slate, the Indiana Pacers versus the Denver Nuggets at 205.5 over under. The Pacers are currently 3-point favorites. The Pacers are going to be without Isaiah Jackson, TJ Warren, and then a midday injury report, Karis LeVert was ruled out. So Malcolm Brogdon should be returning here. He should be available. He's missed the last couple of games due to an illness, so I think he's good to go here and going to play his full allotment of minutes. And remember, before he got injured and before Karis LeVert ended up coming back, he was playing like 38 to 40 minutes a game, and I think we could see that situation happen again here. And his price has come down to $7,500. So I love Malcolm Brogdon in this spot. Not really considering anybody else on this team. I do suppose Chris Duarte is more of a decent play at 5,200 now that Karis LeVert is out. We saw before LeVert ended up coming back, his price was creeping up to that 6K range, so you do get a discount on him. Then we get to the Denver Nuggets, the most popular team of the slate for good reason. Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Vlatko Cancar, they are all out today. So these are the best plays of the slate. Will Barton at $6,300 should lead this team in usage, assist percentage, probably minutes as well. Aaron Gordon, I just he doesn't really create his own shot. I still think that he's a fine play at $5,200. I just prefer Will Barton and the cheaper guys to him at $5,200. If you have him in your lineup, I would feel good about it. Just wanted to mention that. Monte Morris probably going to be the lowest owned of these Denver Nuggets starters. So at $4,400, he's definitely viable. And then, like, I know I keep saying these guys are viable for the Nuggets, but they literally all are, because the situation is kind of like the Philadelphia 76ers, where they're running very thin, and the guys that they're missing are just the highest usage players with Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and Nikola Jokic. So I'm expecting Jeff Green and JaMychal Green to start. I'm definitely expecting JaMychal Green to start at the 5. I think a lot of people are expecting Bol Bol to get the start here, or for Bol Bol to really play significant minutes off the bench. Just don't really see that being the case. I think JaMychal Green stands to benefit the most. I think he's the best point per dollar play on the entire slate. Should play 32 minutes in this game, and he's only $3,200. I think Jeff Green is a better permanent producer, but I don't think he really gets the minutes that JaMychal Green does. But he should start at the 4 and then get backup 5 run as well. So he is just as good of a play in my opinion. You could play 3, 4, maybe 5 of these Denver Nuggets guys. I'd probably stick it to 4 at most. But playing 3 or 4 of them, even on a 13-game slate, is definitely viable today. Move over to the Portland Trailblazers versus the Phoenix Suns at 225 over under. The Suns are currently 5-point favorites. The Trailblazers have no injuries. Lillard, the last 2 games, has really been shooting much better. So at 10,100, he has gotten a price raise, but not as much as the other stars on the slate. I don't mind him. Not the best matchup. Tournaments only, obviously. Not really considering anybody else on the Portland side. And similar situation over here on Phoenix. Not really considering anybody over here. They're going to be without DeAndre Ayton, Dario Saric. Landry Shamet is also out. So I guess on the Suns side, I will mention that Frank Kaminsky and JaVale McGee have been priced up to the point where they're not must-plays any longer. But it looks like the minutes could definitely be on the side of JaVale McGee here in this specific matchup. I think he matches up a lot better than Frank Kaminsky would. McGee was the one who ended up receiving the lion's share of minutes from the center position last game, playing 26 minutes. It's kind of, the role is kind of reversed from when it was Kaminsky the first couple of games without Ayton. And then without Landry Shamet, Cameron Payne coming back from injury ended up playing 22 minutes last game and scored 35.5 fantasy points. Obviously, he shot very, very well. But now without Landry Shamet, he plays that backup guard role behind Chris Paul. When Chris Paul comes out early in the first and third quarters, it's Cameron Payne who comes in, and then he comes through. He plays through Devin Booker when Devin Booker usually plays the entire first and third quarter. So he'll play a very long stint. Usually Cameron Payne's playing 10 to 12 minute stints, and I could see that stint becoming even longer today with no Landry Shamet. So Cameron Payne, an interesting tournament option at $3,500 to get off those very chalky Denver Nuggets value plays. Move over to the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Golden State Warriors at 222 over under. The Warriors are currently 7-point favorites. The Timberwolves are dealing with no injuries. Patrick Beverley ended up starting last game next to D'Angelo Russell, which was the first time we've seen that so far this year. If he's going to continue to see 30-plus minutes in the starting lineup, he's not the worst play at $4,300. Prefer Monte Morris to him, though, at that same price range. The Golden State Warriors, they're going to be without James Wiseman, Klay Thompson. Otto Porter is expected back in this game. Damian Lee is currently questionable. But man, Steph Curry's at 11,700. Like, he would almost need to do exactly what he did last game to pay off that price tag, which is definitely possible. 86.75 fantasy points. I'll pay $14,000 for that. But not really expecting that outcome again. I think he's a fine play. Prefer Giannis in that range, though. Move over to the Miami Heat versus the Los Angeles Lakers. The last game of the slate, a 213.5 over under. Heat are currently 4.5-point favorites. The Heat are going to be without Victor Oladipo, Markieff Morris, and then PJ Tucker is questionable. Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero are also questionable, but they are on track to play in this game. So, I mean, it definitely just messes around with the situation. I think Bam Adebayo would be a great play if he ended up playing. This Los Angeles Lakers defense has been absolutely abysmal to begin the year. He is questionable with a bruised knee, and he has been questionable with a bruised knee for the last couple games, and he continues to play through it. I'm expecting these guys to play. I think there is a chance PJ Tucker misses this game, but again, really just focusing in on Bam Adebayo. And if a bunch of these guys end up missing, I'll give you guys some updates in the Patreon, but there's really not much I can say on it right now. And unless everybody ends up missing, I don't think you're missing out on all that much given the prices of everybody. And then on the Los Angeles Lakers side, LeBron James, Trevor Ariza, Talon Horton-Tucker, Kendrick Nunn are all out. Rajon Rondo and Austin Reeves are both questionable. So, yeah, I've told you guys in my video earlier, if Rondo misses this game, I literally have no idea what the Lakers are going to do, because without Horton-Tucker, Kendrick Nunn, LeBron James, the only two ball handlers they have is Westbrook and Rondo, and they intentionally run Rondo as the direct backup to Westbrook. And they don't play next to each other all that much. They have when they have been super thin, but not as of recently. So if Rondo misses this game, I mean, Westbrook might play 40 minutes here, just because I really have no idea. And even in those 8 minutes he doesn't play, if he plays 40 minutes, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're facilitating the ball. So yeah, they really need Rondo to play here. And then I think Westbrook is a fine play, a much better play over on Draftkings or on FanDuel, where he's only $9,400. And then Anthony Davis, I think, is one of the top spend up options on the slate at $11,100. Obviously, the matchup is very, very tough against the Miami Heat, but I think the condensed production from these guys with no LeBron James is just so tight that it can overcome the matchup. And also, if Bam Adebayo ends up missing this game, this matchup becomes a much better matchup. Also, PJ Tucker, he could miss as well. So, I mean, this could end up being a very good matchup for the Lakers if news breaks the way of the Los Angeles Lakers. If you guys are spending up, I like the late night hammers in Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook to an extent. And that's if you guys are spending up on guys. I don't think that you have to spend up on players tonight at all. I think that you can definitely get away with just playing guys in that 6 and 7K range with the obvious values. I think that's the route I'm most likely going to today, just because they price these guys up so much that it's just almost impossible to even consider them, even with all of the values. Just very hard to end up justifying it. All right, guys, so we are through the game by game stuff. I guess we are still waiting on a couple pieces of news, but again, not stuff that is really going to change the grand scheme of things of what I'm doing tonight. So the Brandon Ingram news is definitely the biggest news that we got throughout that. We kind of went over that. I think that Jonas Valanciunas gets a pretty considerable bump. I'm going to update the Draftkings sheet to that because Jonas Valanciunas definitely deserves a bump now that Brandon Ingram is ruled out. Jalen Suggs and Dwight Howard thoughts. I would not consider really either of the guys, especially Dwight Howard. I think Jalen Suggs is an interesting tournament option, but I think that's fine. What did you say, Jeff? I asked about the same thing earlier. Rubio off the bench and now Hart with Ingram out. Play Ingram or play Hart. I think that's definitely possible. Definitely viable. I kind of went over that. I think that Rubio, I still think Rubio is an amazing play today. I just think that there's more avenues for him to fail, and he's still going to be high owned. So if you guys want to get off of him and fade directly over to a guy that is the same price, I think Josh Hart is a definitely an interesting option right there. Steph, which 2v2 you like more on FanDuel, like Brog, Russ, Fox? Okay, so I was actually going to type this in the notes, Steph, and I didn't even read the second one, but it's definitely the first one, because I went back and forth for like 30 minutes staring at the lineup, deciding between Westbrook, Brog versus Fox and Luka, and I'm still considering going back to the Westbrook side, so that would be my favorite pivot for sure, Steph. But yeah. Is FanDuel better than DK for B-ball? Well, I mean, if you're buying from my Patreon on FanDuel, I can give you guys my full lineup. On Draftkings, I can't really do that. I can give you as much information as I possibly can to help you guys create lineups similar to mine. But, you know, it's against their TOS. They've already come after my ass multiple times before. So I try to play nice with Draftkings. FanDuel, yeah, I mean, we've been having a really good time on FanDuel. I think that the competition is a lot softer over on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings. Thoughts on Anthony Edwards? Yeah, I'm not on Anthony Edwards today. Cade or Hart? Yeah, that's pretty difficult as of right now. I mean, Hart is definitely the much, much safer play. Cade Cunningham is the upside tournament play. Does Ingram out put Hart over Cunningham? Like I said, in cash games, I think that Hart is a better play than Cunningham. But I think Cunningham, dude, I mean, in this matchup against the Rockets, it's going to be a pace-up spot for them. What's going on with this ad? Yeah, Hart is definitely the cash game play, but I think Cade Cunningham, I mean, dude, the upside is through the roof. He has over a 30% usage rating to begin the year so far this year. A lot of that has to do with him turning the ball over. Once those turnovers start turning into shot attempts, and he actually gets a higher true shooting than 37, you know, he's the outside's through the roof for Cade Cunningham. I think by the end of the year, we're going to see Cade at like 7K, and we're going to be like, oh, wow, we should have been playing Cade at 5K when we had the chance. Kyle Anderson, okay, pivot off of Monte Morris. Okay, so the thing with Monte Morris, or with Kyle Anderson, is he needs Dylan Brooks and Zaire Williams to be out. Both those guys are game time decisions. So if they are both ruled out, yeah, I think Kyle Anderson is a great pivot off of Monte Morris, but we need that news to happen. Baisley or Kyle Anderson? As of right now, it's Baisley. Is 4 Denver players too much? Nope. I think 4 is definitely fine. Fave run back if playing Hart and Joval on OKC Giddey. It would be I don't like Giddey in that price range. It'd either be Baisley at just over 4K, or it would be to pay up for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, if it wasn't a 13 game slate, I would be all over. Thoughts on Schroeder today? Yeah, I mean, again, Schroeder is another guy. He played 38 minutes last game, had a 26% usage rating, which was second on the team just behind Jason Tatum. He's confirmed starting again. It's a great matchup. I think the minutes are definitely going to be there. It's just he's in the price range of all of these stacked 6K guards that, you know, he's probably the 4th or 5th option there. So he's going to be low owned. So if you guys want to get an ownership pivot off of those guys, Dennis Schroeder is probably a viable player there. Rubio and Levine, or Garland and Rozier, DK GPP. Ooh, that's tough. In GPP, actually, I go the Garland side. I think Garland has crazy upside today. What do you think about LaMelo, Cade, SGA, Brogdon, Edwards, Jeff Green, Mobley, Portis, and Bamba, FanDuel, and wanted a balanced build? I'm not really on Anthony Edwards or Bamba. Maybe go down from Edwards to a guy like Barnes and upgrade Bamba. And yeah, that's what I do. Who are your favorite plays from Denver? JaMychal Green and Will Barton, probably my 2 favorite. J-Val, Dennis, or Levine Allen. I know you'll lean second for safety, but GBP upside on the first one. Yeah, I mean, you know it, my exact thoughts. Okay, so Derek Favors is officially officially starting. I thought that would be the case. If you watched my video earlier, they really start Jeremiah Robinson early against these smaller teams, but when they need the size, even though Derek Favors is undersized himself, they will give him the start. So Derek Favors actually should play, 24, 26 minutes tonight to try to cover Jonas Valanciunas. And, he's an interesting pivot off of the popular JaMychal Green and Jeff Green down there. So if you guys want an interesting pivot on a guy that's going to be like 1% owned, Derek Favors could be your guy. GPP versus Cash and Tourney. So Cash is just 50-50s in games like that. GPP is a tournament. GPP means tournament. Cash is like 3-mans, double ups, head-to-heads. Hart and Valanciunas or Portis and Butler. Man, let's go with the Portis and Butler side there. Can you Tice Campaign or JaMychal Green and Achua? Definitely the Tice Campaign side. Not really on Achua. I think Achua is not going to end up playing that many minutes. I think Siakam's minutes are going to continue to scale up, and Precious is going to be more in that like lower 20-minute range. Curry and Barton or CP3 and Beal for GVP. I'm going to go with the Barton side. Favorite guy on DK below 4K, probably JaMychal Green. How do you feel about Shea Giddey and bring it back with Joe Val on the other side? I like that. I think that is a very... I think that the Oklahoma City Thunder, New Orleans Pelicans game stack is like very sneaky. Very sneaky. Because we know really where the production is coming from. And the game should be close. Levine or Brogdon? Yeah, man. That's the question right now for me. I think I slightly prefer Brogdon, but damn, is it close. Vucevic a 50 burger tonight as he faces his brothers from Europe tonight. We'll see, man. Garland and Joval or Fox and Vucevic. Garland and Joval or Fox and Vucevic. Garland and Joval for sure. Garland, Rozier, Barton, both Greens, Allen, Brogdon, Valanciunas, small field GPP. I like that. I think that's great for cash games as well. Yo, if you guys are in here, we have over 300 people. And I don't even know how many likes we have, but I know it's under 100. So let's try to drive that up to 100 if you guys could like the video. And while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm here every single day. Would really make my day if you guys could go ahead and do that for me. Does Dort guard Hart, though? I don't think Dort is going to be used to chase around Josh Hart on the basketball court. 7,200 for utility, probably Evan Mobley. Garland, Schroeder, or JaMychal Green and Beal. Let's go with JaMychal Green and Beal. Is there a reason why Sabonis shouldn't go for 50 plus today on FanDuel for 9K? Who's going to stop him down low today? Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, the front court is very undersized now without Nikola Jokic. I mean, JaMychal Green is a severely undersized center. So is Jeff Green. And Bol Bol will get destroyed just by pure strength by Domantas Sabonis. So, yeah, I mean, Sabonis is in a great spot. So is Brandon Ingram. I think a lot of people are really just targeting the Denver Nuggets today, but they're not really considering bringing it back with any of the Pacers. And I think that this game needs to stay competitive. And so you're going to want some of these Pacers guys, or at least one of them. And I think Brogdon is a great play. I think Sabonis would be my second favorite guy. I'm typing up an update for the Patreon. If you guys want to know exactly what I'm playing on FanDuel, DraftKings, and PrizePicks every day, you guys can check out my Patreon. $25 a month. I think it's a pretty damn good deal. Yeah, I really like Jonas Valanciunas in this spot. I think Joe Val could absolutely smash, and like his price really didn't change all that much like the other stars on the slate did. What's your favorite games to stack tonight? The Denver Pacers game, as well as the Oklahoma City versus New Orleans Pelicans, now that Brandon Ingram is ruled out. Stuck on 4,900 or less. Guard, DK. Yeah, probably go down to Monte Morris right there. Let me switch over to guard. Find a 4,900 or less one for you. You know, if we knew ahead of time that Tyrese Halliburton would be out, it would be Davion Mitchell 100%. But we don't have that news just yet. So I'll probably just play it safe and go with Monte Morris. Although we might get the Sacramento. Yeah, so we should get the, we'll get status on Tyrese Halliburton. So if Halliburton is ruled out, then I would play Davion Mitchell. And if he's not ruled out, I would just pivot over to Monte Morris in the Denver game, which starts 30 minutes later. What's going on, Sarah G? Rubio, Levine, Jeff Green, Jermichael Green, Jared Allen, Brogdon, Barton, J-Val. Man, yeah, that lineup is the nuts. Brogdon, Levine, yeah, I like that a ton. Brogdon, Levine, J-Val, Jared Allen, Barton, Jermichael Green, Jeff Green, and Kane. What you think? I like that a ton. Like it. Rubio, yeah, Sarah G, that lineup is nuts. Run that with confidence. Rubio over Cade, no-brainer. I don't think it's a no-brainer. I do still prefer Rubio to him, though. Okay. Cade and Joval are SGA and Portis. Probably the, man, that's tough. Probably the J-Val side. Sarah, you got the same thing right now? Yeah, I like that a lot. We got 297 in here and 91 likes. Hook this dude up, dropping knowledge. Really, really appreciate that, Derek. Top pay up, play. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you think of pay up is. Like, I think J-Val is up there now. I think J-Val might be the best point per dollar, like, pay up option on the slate. If price doesn't matter, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo for me, but he's priced like crazy today on DraftKings. 12,300. Like, we haven't seen that in a while. Like, those are some like James Harden without Chris Paul numbers, some Westbrook without Durant numbers. Best utility play, $7,600. Yeah, gonna be Jared Allen for me. Rubio or Aaron Gordon. Yeah, that's super close to me. Man, I'd probably still go Rubio there over Gordon. I mean, but we're like really splitting hairs with that one. It's freedom from fear. It's Rubio and Cade or Hart at 5,200. Yeah, I mean, personally, I would rank them Rubio, Hart, then Cade. You are okay. MP40 or SCG, dude. I've only ran the SCG. I think I ran the MP40 for like 1 or 2 games at the beginning, but that was the extent of it. Wiggins at 5,500. FanDuel. Yeah, I'm not really on that game at all. Please Taylor, 7,600 utility. Jared Allen for me. Durant and Schroeder versus Mobley and DeJounte Murray. Murray and Mobley. Best point guard, 4,500 or less, brother. Thank you. It's going to be Monte Morris for me. Curry, Barton, Lonnie, Butler, Tice, Dozier, Joval, Eubanks for GPP. Man, I can't really consider Lonnie, but I can't get down with the rest of your lineup. I do think that there is an off chance that PJ Dozier ends up starting here. And with Jokic being out, that they're going to allocate more than minutes to Jeff Green and Jermichael Green at the 5 rather than the 4, especially when we're talking about Jeff Green. So it could open up some more minutes for a guy like PJ Dozier. Rozier, Levine, SGA, Brogdon, Hart, Barton, Green, Allen, J-Val, FanDuel single entry thoughts. I like it. I'm actually going to take a look at over on FanDuel real quick and wanted to mess around with this update possibly. Taylor, I'm just getting on. You on Rubio or no? Yeah, I'm still on Rubio. Him coming off the bench really doesn't affect all that much for me personally. Doesn't really scare me. Tice or JaMychal Green already have Jeff Green. I still think it's fine to play JaMychal Green. I think that there's the most likely outcome is that JaMychal starts at the 5, Jeff Green starts at the 4, Gordon at the 3, Barn at the 2, Monte Morris at the 1. I know I went backwards there, but yeah. But I do think that there is a chance that Jeff Green comes off the bench if, like PJ Dozier starts. Any changes to the FanDuel lineup? I'm looking into a change, but unlikely, no. I'll let you guys know, though. In a timely matter. Rozier or Rubio? I mean, if I have the money, it's a Rozier. Best small forward at 5,600 or less on DK. Let me take a look. Knicks will start Walker, Fournier, Barrett, Randall, and Robinson as expected. 5,600 or less small forward. Yeah, this is tougher. It's probably Josh Hart for me right now at 5,200. You like Garland and Hield or Mobley and 6K guard? I like, Garland and Hield, but you really need Halliburton to be out there. I still think that he's in a fine spot regardless, but yeah. Thoughts on Duarte? I think Duarte definitely gets a bump up with no Karis LeVert. He was nearing 6K before LeVert ended up returning, so Duarte's fine play for sure. Oh, oops. Do you think Valanciunas outscores Jimmy Butler torn on Yahoo? Man, I mean, this spot is so good for the Heat, and there is an interesting, there is a somewhat of a possibility that Tyler Hero and or Bam Adebayo sit, and then Jimmy Butler would just be like the top spin up option on the slate. Now I think that they're on track to play, so they likely end up playing that game, but the upside is there if they do end up sitting. And then who was the other guy? Yeah, Joe Val. I think Joe Val's in a smash spot regardless. Brandon Ingram is already ruled out. I appreciate it, McNasty. Jeff Green or Young? If I have the money for Thad Young, I'd play Thad Young there. Do you think Turner or Mobley on FanDuel for power forward? Definitely Mobley for me, personally. Gordon or Portis? Gonna be Gordon for me. Just because I think that there's a chance that Portis Smith gets scaled back a little bit. Hart or Gordon? Gordon, Morris Barton, Jeff Green, Tatum, Allen, Rubio, JaMychal Green, Valanciunas, GPP. I love it. Taylor on point again. Keep it going. Good call on Thad. Just about to ask that. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, Thad's been the man, dude. Thad is such a great FanDuel play always. Just because of the steals and block upside that he possesses. Why did CJ McCollum coupon price so much from last night and he played like trash fantasy wise? Yeah, I don't know. And he was very popular and then he ended up getting priced up after it. So go figure. Tatum or Valanciunas? Probably Tatum in a vacuum, but I do like Jonas. Fox, Dennis, Monty, or Allen, Brogg, and Jeff. Definitely the Allen, Brogg, Jeff side for me. I can't get away from playing Jared Allen, to be honest. I'm concerned Rubio's ownership is going to be higher than the percentage of times he's optimal. Usually hate guys after literal career games, so why does Sexton got to be out? Yeah, that's the thing, is Sexton out. But, I mean, if you want to fade him, I think it's fine. Isaac Okoro definitely throws a wrench into things with him being back. But I think more times than not that they're going to be closing with Rubio out there. And I think what the likely scenario is that they close with Rubio, Okoro, and Garland with the two bigs. Dean Wade gets shoved out. I think it just might be a starting lineup kind of thing. Rubio has been very good from a permanent standpoint all year. Literally all year. All right, guys, I have an update to FanDuel coming right now. That ended up working out perfectly. So if you guys are part of the Patreon, make sure to check this out. I'm updating it right now. Wanted to make sure I got some Jonas Valanciunas exposure in. Okay. That is now up. If you guys want to check that out, FanDuel lineup has been updated. Okay. Campaign and Beal or Healed and Garland. It really just all depends on the Healed situation. On the Halliburton situation. If Halliburton was out, I would prefer the Garland side. I think I probably still do, Matt. I probably still prefer the Healed and Garland, no matter what. Any guys at 3,000 playable? As of now, no. There was possible guys that could have been viable with Taj Gibson. I guess Taj Gibson is somewhat viable. I guess. Mitchell Robinson is playing. He's not on a minutes restriction, but, you know, if he re-injures himself like Nerlens Noel did last game, Taj Gibson would have a clear route to minutes. How much AD you got on DK? 30% a lot. I think, I mean, 30% is going to be a lot for AD tonight, given his price, but I think that's fine. I like AD a lot. Bet, bro, let's have a great night. Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited. $500 still on the table, but I really love my lineup viable. Yeah, definitely. $500 isn't nothing. And just for leaving $500, you're going to be contrarian. So appreciate the insight, Brody. Yeah, no problem, man. J-Vel and Jeff Green or Mobley and Portis. Ooh. I'll go with the J-Vel side there. Michael Martinez, thank you so much for subbing. Best forward under $5,900. Take a look at my cheat sheet. Actually, we'll just take a look over here. Bobby Portis for me. Let's be big dog. Let's get it, man. Any OG tonight? No Toronto guys. Yeah, I'm not really on the Toronto guys at all with Pascal Siakam back. Even if they are bringing him along slowly, 25 minutes is enough for me to scare me off of these other guys. Broad, Cunningham, Hart, Tice, Allen, Barton, Portis, Val. Like it. Happy Wendell Carter Jr. Day. Are you playing the WCJ tonight? If you guys are in here, if you guys enjoyed this stream at all, if you guys could make sure to hit that subscribe button, would really, really appreciate it. As well as dropping a like. Westbrook and Joe Val or Steph and Shea. Like Westbrook and Joe Val there. Considerably more, to be honest. You confident Brogdon plays full minutes off of illness? Yeah, I mean, illness is not really typically something that I would be concerned about the minutes thing. I mean, assuming he's fully recovered. I trust his minutes more than if he was coming off a legitimate injury. I don't take illness nearly as seriously as I do like a soft tissue injury or something like that, or like a thigh injury or a quad. I'd be much more concerned about that. Especially with no Levert. Brogdon, Cunningham, Burton, Gray, Green, Allen need a guard for 5,600. Portis, J-Val, DK, Cash. I really like that lineup. 5,600 guard. Let's play. Do you have Rubio already? Yeah, it'd probably be Rubio right there at 52. Hey, appreciate it, Dirty Dan. I appreciate you coming back. Took Portis over Mobley for the savings on FanDuel. Sheesh. Levine, JaMychal Green, or Portis and Aaron Gordon. Probably the Levine side there. Yeah, and the Pacers are never ones to really scale back the minutes, like, ever. Westbrook and Butler or Curry and J-Val, DK, Cash. Let's go with the Westbrook side there. Actually, I'm sorry. We'll go with the Curry J-Val side. A 13 gamer trying to find anything to differentiate. Yeah, I know. Yeah, at 13, there should be a ton of ways to differentiate, but, you know, the fact that the Denver Nuggets are just so chalky is ridiculous. Favorite late game to stack? Probably the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the New Orleans Pelicans. 7,400 guard spot on DK. All right, last question, then I got to head out of here. Man, you're 100 off of Malcolm Brogdon. Yeah, I mean, this is an ugly spot, man. I mean, just from a raw projection standpoint, it's probably D'Angelo Russell or, you know, this game just started, but it would have been Darius Garland. All right, guys, it is lock time. Appreciate you guys being here. If you guys want to hit that subscribe button, like button, it is greatly, greatly appreciated. I am here every single day. If you guys want to be notified every time I go live, post a video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But appreciate you guys being here. Best of luck tonight. See you guys at the top of the leaderboards. And until next